The green light is on and the final practice session for the 2023 season is underway. Let's join our commentators Gavin Emmett, Neil Hodson and Michael Laverty.
36 points this year. Danny Pedrosa on 2 appearances scored 32.
Wow.
And he's not going to score any more this weekend, obviously.
This is the issue, right? He's crashed more than he's ever crashed. He's crashed this yesterday, horrible big crash. He's out for the weekend. But why I'm saying this is, it's not like he's not trying. It's not like he's gone, oh, do you know what, I've got this contract. The bike's not quite right. I'm not going to push, I'm not going to risk anything. I'm certainly not going to hurt myself. No, he's a true champion, actually, Joan Mir. And he comes every weekend and he presses reset and he comes out fighting. And
he's had 24 crashes this year. His previous haul in MotoGP Premier, he had 12 in 2019, 5 in 2020, 8 in 21, and in 2022 had 11. And this year, he suddenly had basically 3 years crashes in 1 year. 24 he's had, so remarkable.
Hence the rumour, what did you say?
Well,
when I
I've just heard around the paddock that he's still trying to get out of the contract. It clearly doesn't look like it's going to happen, but I don't know, he's got to the stage where he could say, I'm not just going to sit out a year.
And it's funny, and that's why I said when I came in, Michael said, oh, it's announced that Luca Marini's leaving the VR46 team. My line was, I still think that's the strangest move of the whole year. You know, when you think you know enough about motorcycle racing with what we've seen over the years. Obviously, Luca was set in his brother's team on a Ducati for next year.
First 2 podiums this year.
Yeah. His progression curve is on the way up. He's an intelligent lad. He's a slow burner, so he was always going to be much better next year on the Ducati, and he's jumped ship to ride the very, very difficult Factory Honda.
Yep, well, that's happening for certain now that he's leaving the R46 as Jorge Martin goes through. I'm wondering, Michael, whether this practice session now is so crucial for this man, Pecco Bagnaia, because we're heading into Q1. So he's got to work a little bit on his race setup, because he says 3 parts of the racetrack he's losing half a second. But also then he needs to perform in Q1, because if he doesn't qualify in the top 4 rows of the grid at a notoriously difficult track to overtake like Valencia, treacherous as we've seen for Jack Miller yesterday with a couple of huge crashes for him, then it's going to completely change how this weekend pans out.
Yeah, it's a pressure cooker scenario because he's good in terms of the long race. The sprint's always been a little bit of a weakness for Pecco. When you have everything on the line, if he doesn't get through Q1 and all of a sudden he's not on those first 4 rows of the grid, it's going to be a tough sprint to even score points this afternoon. So, yeah, they've obviously worked overnight to try and find the little bit of turning. It did look like turning when Jorge Martin was shadowing him yesterday at the end of the practice session. He didn't get the lap time together, but when Jorge was in behind, it just looked easier for Jorge than it did for Pecco. The bike looked difficult, but he always turns it around, finds a little bit of a set improvement overnight. So he needs to find the results on track in this session and then deliver in Q1.
All sorts of conspiracy theories last week after what happened with Jorge Martin's tyre. I'd be intrigued on the data sharing this weekend about whether there might be curveballs thrown in here and there. There's been all sorts of people saying what could be done behind the scenes to try and throw off Jorge Martin. What was clear yesterday, with Davide Tardozzi standing in front of Jorge Martin's bike, a rider he possibly could be managing next year if they, decide to make the switch and he were to win the championship. All a little bit strange in a way, but they clearly don't want Jorge to win this championship, and so surely they can do whatever it takes themselves.
That's what it looks like. Yeah, that is exactly what it looks like. One thing I'm noting straight away, Bagnaia looks better. He looks completely different than he did yesterday. He looks more comfortable, more relaxed, more attacking on the bike. There's one thing I know how that factory Ducati team work, and I think we all know Francesco Bagnaia. He's quite a cool, calm character, and we certainly know the team manager Davide Tardozzi, and Davide Tardozzi will have sat down with Pecco last night and said, right, come on, and this is how they're going to play it. This is how Jorge Martin's going to play. He's going to play dirty. He's going to do whatever it takes. He's going to try and get under your skin. So let's come out fighting. You have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to qualify bad. You're going to have a bad sprint, and all the pressure's going to be on you tomorrow. So I genuinely think there'll have been a big team talk for Pecco Bagnaia last
A
night.
big pep talk. It
Absolutely.
did seem, again, just like last year, that he was the calm with the maelstrom all around him, and you had your Tadotsis dancing around and usual effusive kind of characteristics down there. But they almost want to inject some of that into Pecco, don't they? Because you could sit back here and try and play it too cool, focus only on Sunday, but find yourself outside of Q1. Now, this pace here, 30.7, he's on the medium tyres. It's cool in the morning, so you have to be wary. But it looks, Michael, like race pace might be low 30s, like Jorge Martin's putting in, almost a second quicker than the existing race lap pace.
Yeah, the new tarmac is so fast, but with Pecco setting these lap times on the medium rear whilst Martin and Vinales are out there on the soft, it's quite promising. As Neil said, he looks more effortless on the bike, more fluid, more attacking, which is where he needs to make his time. He's so strong on the brakes. The way he has rode this bike for, it's actually had a bit of a transition this year, but it is a slightly different style to Martin, so it's all on the brakes. It's hooking the bike around. Martin does it with his body with a very different approach, but right now it's working for Pecco with this medium rear tyre.
Martin's been on pole here for the last 2 years at the circuit. They had a great battle, didn't they, with Jack Miller a couple of years ago for the race. Alex Rins was the winner here last year on the Suzuki, ahead of Binder and Martin. What the concern for Jorge Martin is, and this is one thing that Bagnaia said yesterday, there'll be other people who will be quick here. And it looks like the Giannantonio's got excellent pace again. It looks like Brad Binder, Maverick Vinales. There are other names in there. Now, Martin's job is to make sure he's at the head of all of them. Bagnaia said yesterday, and I loved it, because it was pointed, he needs to focus on his own job. He's not the fastest out there. And it seemed like, yes, he's trying to play the mind games, but it almost felt like some of the mind games were working on Pecco too.
Yeah, it was clear yesterday who won day one with regards to mind games. This man was 15 fastest and Jorge Martin was second fastest. So, but like we've just said, he looks different, he looks better, it looks like the old Pecco Bagnaia. That said, it all changes when you sit on the start line. He might get through this session, he might get through Q1 into Q2, he might qualify in the first 2 rows. It's then when the start happens, that's when the tension starts and you dive into that tricky turn 1, the hairpin of turn 2, the awful turn 4 where we've seen so many crashes over the years. So even though this session might go a lot better than we saw him ride yesterday, it's still not a foregone conclusion that that'll translate into race results later on today and tomorrow.
He just needs to ask this man's brother, his mentor, Valentino Rossi, who I'm sure many people watching will remember 2006 and the brilliance of Troy Bayliss to win that race, but he was leading the championship. He was leading the championship that day by 8 points, and still Nicky Hayden prevailed because of an early, uncharacteristic, but an early mistake under pressure because he found himself in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, the problem, it's so tight around here, and on the day the front end folded for Valentino, and it could easily happen for any of these riders, especially in these temperatures. So we've seen a lot of crashes that doesn't look like the rider are making much of an error, and the rear walks around and the front tucks under.
I think it was David Emmett did an interview with Christian Gabarini this week on Moto Matters website, and Christian was absolutely right. We love speaking to Christian. He's so measured, so calm. Won championship for Casey Stoner, been there in the background for Marc Marquez. You know, he's been there and done it. And of course, one with Pecco Bagnaia. But the line from him this week is, well, Jorge's got nothing to lose. I'd rather be Jorge Martin, because he doesn't have anything to lose and Pecco has everything to lose.
It's so funny because I read that, and if people don't quite understand, when you say, well, surely Jorge Martin's got the World Championship to lose. When you come here and you're trailing by so many points, 21 points, then there is only one game plan. It's, well, I can't just ride around. I have to attack. I have to go and win, or try to win. And do you know what? If you crash trying, then you're a hero. It's like, well, you threw everything at it. It wasn't your year, but what a gallant effort. If you come here with such a lead like this man, then the pressure is on, because then he does have 2 options. He has the option of, do you know what, if I just ride around and get 2 third places, which he's so capable of doing, he'll become world champion. But thankfully, because MotoGP right now is the closest that it's ever been, if you try and ride slightly defensive, you can soon find yourself in a battle for 10th. the times of just like Jorge Martin did last weekend.
Or Pecco Bagnaia did here last year, when he had that comfortable margin over Fabio Quartararo, needed a top 13 finish, and he finished 9th. He finished 9th with his mates behind him. You know, Frankie Morbidelli and that, they were sat, you know, really just giving him an easy ride pretty much compared to what he might get. There are other people in the mix this weekend, there's no doubt about it.
This man.
And this man's one of them, isn't he, Michael?
He's not going to be scared to getting stuck in. I think there's too many for Pecco really to control the race. Yes, he's got a few alloys, a few wingmen in the VR46 lot, but yeah, when you look at your Brad Binders, your Marc Marquez, Ralph Fernandez has been fast last week. There will be a few names that could come up into the mix that really upset this championship order. So, yeah, the next couple of hours are going to be crucial.
A quick word on, you mentioned Ralph Fernandez. We're watching these lap times. Bagnaia's responded here for starters with his medium tyres. He's doing excellent. Jorge Martin also looking like he's priming himself for the sprint. But you mentioned Ralph Fernandez, and it sounds like there's going to be all change at RNF for Aprilia. It sounds like Razvan Razali's on his way out. It sounds like we might have an American team owner. Either of you shed any light on what's going on behind the scenes down there at RNF?
No, I think there's been talk throughout the season. There's rumours going around. It's been floating around for a while. Certain bills have not been paid. We know Razvan. I tell you what, he puts some effort in, doesn't he? He's tried hard to scrape together and create a really good MotoGP team. But yeah, rumours about their main crypto sponsor, Crypto Data, have not been paying the invoices. So yeah, it's really sad news, and I hate it when teams, members of staff aren't being paid. But then I think you know a little bit about who's taking over.
We don't know anything as a fact. I'm sure we'll catch up with Jeremy Appleton, who we were very close to at Alpine Stars for years in Triumph, and he's been working with Justin Marks, a former one-time driver, but NASCAR team owner who took over Chip Ganassi, which is one of the big names. He runs Trackhouse Racing, and the talk is he will take over from Razvan and run that team. But we don't know. We've had no confirmation of that.
Well,
happening.
The only thing we've had confirmed is Razvan is stepping away. He's selling his share in the team. Crypto Data haven't paid their bills as a title sponsor, co-owner of the squad. They did buy some shares. They haven't paid their bills to Dorna as the Austria race title sponsor for the event. So
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I do love it.
The lawyer was just calling this.
There's been a lot of talk about the crypto sponsorship that has been appearing in the paddock, and various riders have some crypto sponsors, and it is a slightly shady industry, so we're not massively surprised. They are Romanian, Crypto Data, and yeah, it looks...
Yeah, they're actually a data company, aren't they? IT, data management, that side of things. But yeah, that's all the rumours behind the paddock, but it looks like a shake-up there. The riders are contracted to Aprilia, so it will stay as an Aprilia team, whoever were to take a hold of it. There've been rumours that KTM were trying to crop hold of it over the summer, but yeah, it looks like it will stay like that, and if it's an American owner, that could be great for the sport.
I tell you what, that's a response from your current world champion, isn't it? 15th yesterday, nervous, flapping, didn't look comfortable at all on the motorcycle. All of a sudden, the main man has turned up from Ducati, Claudio Domenicali.
Press that button.
The boss has turned up and said, "Hey, what you doing, champ? Come on."
Yeah, but that was what was impressive there, Neil, was every single lap was faster and faster and faster until he set the fastest lap on medium tyres compared to Martin on the softer rear tyre, although it looks like an older one that he went out on. Martin did fast laps on used tyres yesterday.
Yeah, he did. Hey, one thing just to mention as well, we've got 21 riders circulating. We've got standing rider Lorenzo Savadori, who's riding for the injured Miguel Oliveira. The top 20 are covered by 0.7 of a second. Just when we're talking about if you're not quite on it, or if you don't get a good start, or if you ride a bit tight, when you've got 20 riders covered by 0.7 of a second, it just shows you just how close it is.
And that 20th is the injured Alex Rins, last year's race winner, of course, with Suzuki. In his last ride for LCR Honda, he says, I'm not 100%. But more than anything, he's just getting a little bit of bike fitness back because he's testing the Yamaha, of course, on Tuesday. But when last year's race winner is effectively last.
That tells you where we're at with MotoGP.
7/10 covering
7
the
tenths.
field is, look, 0.289 and you're 10th for an Aya Bastianini race winner from Malaysia. It is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But Bagnaia has responded in the best fashion possible. We talked about Q1. I think perhaps the most important session of the weekend, because it sets the grid not just for the sprint but for Sunday's race, and if you aren't in that, then it is a whole different prospect.
Yeah, you look who's in it. Alex Marquez is in that, who is definitely capable of doing one lap. Quartararo, maybe not so. I'm just looking down. The problem is then, you've got Aya Bastianini who's in that. Would Ducati say to
Oh, and there is Fabio Quartararo.
Is that the first one we've seen here? Because that's a normal corner. We see a lot of crashes there throughout the years. It's actually changed direction. Right-hand side of the tyre is a little bit cooler because it's an anti-clockwise track, so the left-hand side of the tyre gets worked hard. The right, not so much, especially in these cool mornings. Also, you don't really load the front that much. Watch this. So, watch it as he turns right. It usually goes quite early. Yeah, look at that. That went even earlier than normal. Look at the speed, the violence. That bike hits the gravel. I mean, that's something. That's probably about 100 miles an hour, maybe just shy 90. Great shot. You know when there's a crash corner because the super slow-mo camera's already set up there to catch them.
Well, yesterday there was one, wasn't there? In the turn 8, it was an amazing piece of camera work, as this is too. Marco Bezzecchi crash yesterday. But the one thing here is the gravel, isn't it? Sylvain pointed it out yesterday, and he's sliding along quite nicely in a way. He's switching which part of his body is sliding across, and then suddenly he'll hit the gravel. And actually, it's better than Bezzecchi's yesterday.
Yeah, the step at turn 8 was too much yesterday. It really started Marco Bezzecchi doing a barrel roll through the gravel, and it hurt him. But yeah, we've seen in Qatar actually with big tarmac runoffs, it took a long time before the rider and bike reached the gravel, and the crashes looked quite good. But obviously, that's a vast venue here. It's all compacted in quite a tight arena, so you don't have room to really extend those tarmac runoffs.
Quartararo had decent pace yesterday. He was there or thereabouts. The problem is, when they put the soft tyre, there's no jump, is there? And that's the story. It's a bit like Suzuki had that issue, didn't they? A little bit over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that was the exact same issue. And you go from sort of being, let's say, round about 5th or 6th throughout the weekend, and everyone puts soft tyres in, and you find yourself down in 14th or 15th. And that's then the story of your weekend, isn't it?
That's where Jack Miller crashed yesterday. He was just about to go through as we switched away from him, and that was a weird crash. And I bet Jack's feeling a bit second-hand this morning.
Oh, the high side through turn 3 was as big as I've seen this year, to be honest. It just looked like something went wrong. It looked like the traction control let him down ever so slightly.
Yeah, they don't have the traction control turn right up. They want a little bit of feeling, but it's just slightly off to what you're getting used to. And it lets go like Jack did yesterday. It was not a pretty crash. So, Pecco Bagnaia going out onto track. Is this a qualifying practice? You understand what I'm saying here? Is this we've done our little run there, that's the race run. Is this now, I need to be inside the top 2 in Q1?
I don't think it was a soft rear tyre though, so if he hasn't put the soft rear in, he's confident that he can deliver. And he is one of the best one-lap men on the grid. He can put the soft tyres in, he can really extract an extra few tenths.
Oh, now Digi's gone down.
Same corner.
I think it is turn 10. It looks like the sort of crash you get there.
He's been on fire, hasn't he? Yesterday was fantastic. Yeah, it's going to be the same crash, isn't it? Change direction, get off.
Oh, it's almost.
Do you know what?
The black line's in exactly the same spot.
I've done that crash. It's just the strangest sensation because as you're sliding, you just go. You're in shock, of course, because you've hit the ground so hard, and then literally you're thinking, "What did I do? I didn't do anything. I did not do anything wrong."
Could it be a cold tyre there as well? Because after 5, you have 6, 7, 8, 9.
It is 100% that you've lost a few degrees. You can see as you change direction, the front's slightly extended, so it's not got a lot of load on it. So that momentary lack of load, lack of degrees temperature, so you're not getting optimum grip. And as Neil said, you just go to lean on it, and it's just not there. It just plows, it pushes away, and it's the strangest feeling. You just don't have a bike in under you.
Yeah, Digi, as Neil mentioned quite rightly, has looked great this weekend. He was quickest on race pace, but on newer tyres than perhaps Martin had been running. But I don't think you can count him out of the challenge for sprint or race success, as Bagnaia has gone out on the same tyres as last time. He is confident. You mentioned, Neil, before Enea Bastianini. He said yesterday, there's 2 riders to go through, so I don't have to give up one of the places because Pecco could have the other one. I also said, this was when he was speaking to Italian press yesterday, I really didn't like what happened in Moto3 last week. I didn't like the idea of team orders. I didn't like the idea of a teammate helping out from the destination of the championship. So, yeah, I'll just do my job. But you sort of think... I just look to know what the conversations are going on inside the Ducati garage with Enea.
Yeah, I think we know what the team will be saying.
Is that just PR speak then? Is that
I think so. I think so. Look, in our sport, thankfully, there's not a lot of team orders, but we're coming to the end of a 20-round championship, and you've got obviously Pecco, who's leading the championship. His teammate's absolutely nowhere due to injury. He's missed so many races this year. I'm sure in the race, if he's behind Pecco Bagnaia, he won't pull a move on him. I'm sure the team have said, just this once, please, will you not do anything silly? But then, I don't think Bastianini will go out of his way to do a silly move on Jorge Martin. I don't think he'll do a crazy lunge like we saw
Joan Zarco?
Yeah, attempt on Marc Marquez or Adrian Fernandez.
Well, we haven't really talked about that Joan Zarco move.
That was like the biggest brain fade I've ever seen. It was the last lap of the main race last weekend. Zarco's behind Marc Marquez, who's breathing all over Jorge Martin, looking like he's going to try and pass him in the last few corners. And Zarco thought, well, he must have thought, I've got to try and get in front of Marc to protect my teammate. Did a strange lunge from about 5 bike lengths. The pass was never on. He ran into the side of Marc Marquez. Thankfully, nobody crashed, but it was a quite rash move from the normally chilled Frenchman, wasn't it? Very un-Zarco-like, I thought.
Yeah, he's normally really quite patient, isn't he? In fact, that's one of our criticisms that we've levelled against him over the years.
Dirty offline, did you see that?
Yeah.
A lot of riders commenting on that. This new surface, super grippy online, but off the racing line, it's nowhere near as grippy.
Isn't it funny how in Qatar it was the black line, was the rubbered in line, and here it's like a lighter white line. Why is that?
I've never seen it before.
No, me neither. I don't actually know the answer.
Charlie said, now I don't know if he's right.
What, the bitumen boss? I mean, he
all of a sudden that's turned into the expert when it comes to resurfacing circuits. He said when the Lakers track, they're rodding it too soon, and then it's the bitumen wearing down, and that's the sand coming through. I've no idea. He convinced me, actually. Sounded like he
said a lot of technical words. That would be anything to convince us, wouldn't it?
And look, you know when Charlie looks really serious at you and intense, which is most times. What was interesting, on my track guide on Thursday, I did it with Alex Marquez. We walked around, I had plenty of time to chat to him. I said, I read a story somewhere where after you crashed in India, you broke your ribs. When you came back, you couldn't ride the bike normally. You couldn't force the bike. And actually, you found that was the way to ride the Ducati. You were faster. I said, first of all, was that true? Did you say that? Because, sometimes you hear these reports and it's like, well, no, I didn't mean it that way. He went, yeah, that's exactly what I found. He said, let me tell you about this Ducati. You have to ride it. It's so interesting. Really lightly. You can't force it. So I said, see, I thought the opposite. I thought you to be really late on the brakes. Oh, yeah, sorry. You have to be really late on the brakes. You have to attack on the brakes on the Ducati. But then, after that, the next phase of applying the throttle, you have to be super, super gentle. You can't force a bike. Because he said the problem with this bike is if you get aggressive with the throttle, it starts to spin, you're done. It's like then once you break traction with it, so you have to try and keep the wheels in line. And he said, I only learned that through being injured. I'd been overriding, over-forcing it in that phase of the corner, and not being able to achieve the lap times. So I then thought, I didn't ask him, the first thing I thought was, what do you think I was thinking when he said that?
That Mark.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, he knows all this now.
First thing I thought was, oh, I wonder how Mark will get on, because we're all assuming Mark's going to jump on it and be an absolute machine straight away. But we know Mark's way of riding is incredibly forceful.
Do you think Alex might give him that little bit of insight?
But then the flip side is that the 22 bike to the 23 changes that dynamic. So Pecco's complained that the extra grip that they requested has now made that you have to be patient, even more patient. You have to let it turn. If you open the throttle too soon, it actually understeers and you don't get the finish of the corner done.
Which is where Jorge Martin, his strength has been doing that. His body angles, the way he works that bike, gets it stood up as quickly as he can and using his body to finish off the corner. And Pecco's strength was always on edge, as Enea Bastianini's found. Enea Bastianini, his strong point was on brakes, but the trail to the middle of the corner. And that's changed for this year's bike. It will be interesting to see what Marc Marquez does. We will have testing live on TNT Sports 4 from 8:45 in the morning. So make sure you find that on Tuesday here at Valencia. The first shot of Marc Marquez on a Ducati. The first shots of Pedro Acosta, of course, the Moto2 sensation, as he rides the Gas for the very first time. A few legends in that shot.
Yo, wow, that is a shot, and Jack and Agassini there in the background. You've got
well, one legend and two absolute characters.
Yeah, one absolute legend. Then you've got Paolo Campianotti, the grey-haired gentleman. That's the Pramac owner. He's been running the team since day one. What a character. Then you've got Claudio Dominicali. He's the CEO of Ducati, the absolute top man, who's a great guy as well.
He is, but he's not afraid to make tough decisions, is he, as we've seen over the years. Think of Jorge Lorenzo and things like that, and the Enea Bastianini, Jorge Martin swap stories. I'm sure he's got a hand in that somewhere along the lines. He'll be saying, well, if Martin wins, we want the #1 plate on our bike.
Yes, he will be making that decision, I'm sure.
Martin's tracking Bagnaia again. It was by serendipity this time, rather than going looking for it as he did yesterday.
Do you know, with Claudio Dominicali, the CEO of Ducati, like I say, I know him really well. I've known him for a lot of years. There is one winning machine. He has got so much hunger. When I say winning, he wants to win on track, but he certainly wants to win off track. You look at Ducati's sales, the development of their motorcycles. I mean, how it's grown over the past 20 years. That's the man I'm talking about, just walking out there with his jumper and shirt on. He's honestly workaholic. You've never met anyone like him. He's a 20-hour-a-day man still, because it's never enough.
But you see that, don't you, at the top of a lot of these teams? People who, like Gigi Dall'Igna, is just wedded to working, and that's what breeds success, doesn't it, at the very highest level?
It's funny. I'll tell you a quick story about that. I work with some fast lap times.
Just with Quartararo, he picked himself out of the gravel.
Yeah. Hey, that's what it takes to be a MotoGP rider. You face plant at 100 miles an hour. You don't really know why, as in you don't get a lot of warning. You jump on your spare bike and go, right, I've just got to force that front tyre a little bit more to get more heat in it. Easier said than done.
But let's not forget he's in Q1. The top 5 covered by 500ths of a second now that Marco Bezzecchi's gone top. The top 5 500ths of a second.
Look how close it is.
0.05 between Quartararo, Marquez, Bagnaia, Alex Marquez and Marco Bezzecchi. So no Jorge Martin. But Jorge Martin's not miles behind. He's 1/10. So 0.1 behind Bezzecchi. It is oh so tight.
And I do think Martin's circulating here to put a few more laps on the software tyre. Understand if it is a race option ahead of tomorrow, I think it will be this afternoon.
18 laps he's got on it, that tyre now, Michael.
So yeah, they'll understand how much rubber, how much compound is left on it if it is a viable option tomorrow. In the cool conditions, it would be nice if you could make the soft go all the way to the end.
Yeah, we race later than, there's a obitual here. 3 p.m. local time, so 2 p.m. in the UK, race start time. And that means that the heat of, I'm not saying it's hot out there, because it definitely isn't, it's chilly, but to about 1 p.m. it probably gets up to 20 degrees. In the shade it still feels a little bit cold, but at 3 p.m. it's just starting to tail ever so slightly, and you went out on your lap, the sun gets low in the sky.
It really does, and it just makes it quite difficult when you're coming back towards those final corners to be super precise. obviously you've got a dark visor on, but when it's low, it's not ideal. Actually, especially coming round to that last corner, really, really tricky.
So the checkered flag is out and the session is over. Marco Bezzecchi ends the final practice session of 2023 fastest of a 1:30.167, followed by Alex Marquez, Jan Zarco, Pecco Bagnaia, Marc Marquez, Fabio Quartararo, Jorge Martin, Brad Binder, Maverick Vinales, Raul Fernandez in the mix as well. And then we go in as well from the bottom. Fabio Giannantonio crashed, Nea Bastianini, Augusto Fernandez, Franco Morbidelli, Aleix Espargaro, Luca Marini, Jack Miller, Takiki Nakagami, Paul Espargaro, Alex Rins, and Lorenzo Salvadori down in 21st position. Still no word on Johan Mir. Don't think he's been declared fit as well from this weekend. So down to 21 riders. You'll be automatically redirected to the qualifying stream. Coming up next, it's the big one. Who will get through Q1 and Q2? Bagnaia in Q1. The fight for the title is next.